The top blue, John Nicholls.
Thank you, sir.
John, so many wonderful accolades during a wonderful and illustrious career in this great game. How does it feel to be named the top player of Carlton over 150 years of its history?
Very humble to start with, because Carlton to me has been a major part of my life. I've loved it, ups and downs, but Carlton to me is everything. I was lucky enough to follow my great brother Don to Carlton in 1956. I was lucky enough to play under the wonderful mentor Ken Hands in 1957, who retired early, should have played longer. But Ken was my mentor. I think he had the nickname Solvol, but I tried to follow him and copy him. I couldn't do all the things he did, but some of them I did. But look, Carlton's been wonderful. I think sort of going forward a bit, no social club, the old days, and tonight I've seen some wonderful old faces. They've all got grey hair, if any. Some a bit fat. It's great to see them. But through that era of unprofessional football, which we were, and all the old ones know, train twice a week in the dark, and Mark McClure talks about Sunday mornings. Well, yeah, we had those too. They weren't very good, but weren't very good for the football. But the club was, apart from the best Guernsey in the business, we had in the VFL the culture of being one of those 4 top sides, and we certainly were one of the top sides. And I think really through that battle, and it's still going now, but jumping ahead to 68 to win a flag after 21 years, and the social club had been built then, wasn't when we started. I think where the social club was and where the newsstand is, there was as Ken Hands could probably talk about, there was a hill there with a peppercorn on it, and all of our loyal supporters were there. And it's probably that loyalty and being humbled to be this award, all of those supporters, and I've seen quite a few tonight. I haven't seen a lot lately, but there's so many out there that have been members for 60 and 70 years. And in 68, they all came to the social club and they were crying because it meant so much. I know we're getting close to that number now, but Carlton has been, Melbourne has changed, football has changed, life has changed, but Carlton has been, to me, still Princes Park, even though we've had some wonderful sponsors. And without going into all the politics of AFL and VFL, it was a shame that we couldn't expand the ground, because it was an ideal ground, not because it's ours, city councils or whatever, but it was an ideal position to play football, of a Saturday afternoon, which we used to.
Yes.
And as I said, life's changed. You can't go back. But to me, Carlton, and I know, unfortunately, we won't have time tonight to get around the room to see all the oldies. But in the list of names that were read out in the 50s, when I started, Ken Hands and Graham Gilchrist I played with, and there's a few others there that, wonderful names. I know my brother Don's here tonight. It's humbled to be awarded, because the 12 names that were settled down at the finish, everyone had something to offer. And I've always said you can't compare players of any team or any era who was better than the other, because everyone is different and everyone's got strong points and weaknesses. Something I have learnt as you get older and you get into Hall of Fames, you become a better player. You've never played a bad game.
You get faster, stronger.
But that's fine. But look, I'm very proud, very, very proud. And I must say that, Carlton has sort of had a history, good and bad, unfortunately, good and bad teams and coaches and committees. We probably should have had more success in the 50s and 60s. We didn't have good administration. I must pay tribute to, I know it's been tonight, but Stephen Kernahan, the effort he's put in personally for this club sticks. Fantastic.
Hear, hear.
I've paid tribute to Ken Hands, my mentor. People don't realise just how much Ken did for this club back in the 50s and 60s. Before he was coaching, he used to travel Australia with KG Luke. He was always recruiting, he was always wanting something to help the club. He spent an enormous amount of time, recruiting people like Barry Cable and a few others. And I think, unfortunately, at the time, the club was not well administered. We had a split committee, and 2 or 3 players, including Ken, retired before he should have. Graham Donaldson left before he should have. In those eras, we had a good side that just needed a bit of polish, and we didn't quite get it. And I think there's been other times when Kevin Hall said when George Harris and his mates came in, they did a good job. But I must say that if I had one regret about the image of Carlton, who I love, is the fact that we've probably taken over from Collingwood as being the most hated side in the league. And I say that because I believe that people think we were arrogant, which we were, thanks to a couple of presidents, without mentioning their names. But they were arrogant when we won, and they didn't know how to win properly. And I believe that's the thing about sport. You've got to know how to win and how to lose, and do both of them properly. And we were arrogant, and I think that helped create an image of the club being an arrogant club, which I don't think we are. To the new board, the new president, you've got a hell of a job ahead, because I believe, in the next few years, we've got to make some smart decisions. In the last 10 or 15 years, since 95, whoever the committee was, we have made some mistakes. We have to keep the culture, the football culture, somewhere on the board. Business is important, but football culture, which Sticks has had, and previous ones, I must say, Ian Collins, the amount of effort Collo has put into this club through his whole career since the 60s has been wonderful.
Hear, hear.
His recruiting, his CEOs, his time as president, Collo, fantastic Collo. So thank you to the club, thank you to the selectors. I am lucky because all the guys that finished in that last panel, anyone could be number one and they deserve it. So thank you, and I am very lucky.
Well done, John.